Well, hi everybody. I'm back at work here from the stage across the street, at least, at the State of the City this week, which was certainly among the highlights of an otherwise remarkably eventful week. And I want to just begin by mentioning a few things that are notable that happened this week in San Francisco. And perhaps the most notable thing was certainly not the State of the City, but the decision finally that came from the California Independent Systems Operator, what they refer to as CAL-ISO, basically the folks that decide our fate and future as it relates to the distribution of electricity and the reliability of electricity in the state of California, finally sent us a letter and have given us the green light to shut down the Mirant power plant in San Francisco. This is a very significant win for environmental justice. This is a significant win for the citizens of San Francisco, going back literally decades in the city that have been fighting to shut down this one of the remaining and most polluting power plants that the city and county of San Francisco had continued to operate. We had closed down, as you recall, a number of years ago, the Bayview Hunters Point plant. Now, with this deal with Mirant, which we hope, by the way, to shutter formally and officially at the end of this calendar year, those two plants will be gone, and San Francisco can literally, again, breathe easier, particularly the people of the southeast sector, where prostate cancer rates and cervical cancer rates and breast cancer rates continue to outpace the rest of the state and this nation. Again, an environmental justice victory, first and foremost, an environmental victory in the broadest sense, and now the opportunity to not only shut this down, but to clean up the sites and reimagine and redevelop that area is upon us. So congratulations to everyone that's worked so hard on this, beginning with the community. The good work of Supervisor Sophie Maxwell, the entire team in my economic office as well as environmental office, and all the folks that stood side by side, and the good work that was done in the city attorney's office to get us to this point, including Michaela Alioto-Pierre and some others that held the line on no alternative power plants in San Francisco in order to tear this power plant down. Remember, there was a lot of folks that wanted to put some combustion turbines and replace this plant with new, what they call CTs. We didn't have to do that, and I'm very proud of that. We had the right instinct and the right consideration there, and we held strong, and everyone, I think, ultimately will be the beneficiary of that. So congrats to all of us on the Mirant plant closing. Second, I think, interesting and I would argue exciting announcement this week was the efforts, again, by so many community leaders, led by a team of folks, Hydra Mendoza in my office, Maria Sue in the Department of Children, Youth, and Family, our partners at the Juvenile Probation Department, Kamala Harris and her team at the District Attorney's Office, and notably the San Francisco Unified School District and our great superintendent, all working together to address the number one issue that I believe is remaining at the Unified School District, and that's the graduation rate. In the fact that our dropout and truancy rates are still too high, notably for African Americans and Latinos. 68% of African Americans graduate in our public school district in San Francisco. And while that may be higher than, say, Detroit and other parts of the country, it's still disgracefully low. And we've got to address this issue. There's an interesting statistic that I think just sums this thing up. You know, we talk about the rates of people that don't graduate in terms of their economic earnings and potential and the likelihood they'll enter into the criminal justice system. But consider this fact. In a 5-year study in San Francisco, and the DA continues to reference this, and she should, in a 5-year period, over 90%, 94% of victims of homicides that were 25 and younger were dropouts. Victims were dropouts. Not necessarily the suspects, as I stated, but those that were victims of crime. So this hits all of us in every way, shape, or form. This is real and this is significant. It goes to the achievement gap and what Carlos Garcia in the school district referred to as the opportunity gap, which I like. We've got to increase this graduation gap. And we announced this week a new partnership. This is the first time in our city's history we've done that with the police department and others, an enlightened partnership called TARC, the Truancy Abatement Resource Center. It's going to be located at 44 Goff with the CARC, which is the community Assessment Referral Center, which has become a national model run by Huckleberry House and others, Edgewood and other partners. That's for criminal behavior. Those are folks that come in with that background. The TARC will be for people that are truant. The police department now has a new general order. We'll be going out and actually helping get people off the streets, bring them to this new resource center in an enlightened way with all our community-based organizations, including the YMCA in partnership with other organizations. We're going to be putting together a framework that we hope can deliver real results and get people back into school. Thank you to everyone that's worked so hard on this. This is for me one of my number one priorities or top priorities into this next year's address truancy and dropouts. And by the way, there's not a week that goes by where I'm not making calls myself to try to address this issue and try to deal with what, at the end of the day, are families in crisis, not just a dropout that the school district needs to deal with, but a dropout or a truant that the entire city and the city family needs to deal with in a comprehensive manner. A third thing that was significant this week from my perspective was a new partnership that we've established in the central part of Market Street, mid-market. We've long talked about mid-market and the importance to address and revitalize the needs of revitalizing the mid-market corridor as an arts and cultural and entertainment district, provide a framework. We're not gentrifying people, but organizing strategies so that people at all economic levels can live together and advance together across every conceivable difference. The opportunity is upon us to dust off the old redevelopment plan, which is what we're doing, and build a framework of partnership where it's not just redevelopment that's focusing on the needs down there, but all of these other city agencies. We had a big kickoff on this just a few days ago, and I cannot impress upon you my commitment to try to make real some of these plans. I think we're very close. We built a foundation there that in the next few months, and certainly in the next year, we can really start seeing some significant things happen in the mid-market corridor. So please stay tuned and please get involved so we can fulfill this vision. We've been talking about this, and mayors have, sitting at this desk in this office for what seems like my entire life, and half a generation at least, or a generation for others. Third thing that was significant, and at least is noteworthy, was a comment I made last week about what's happening down the block at the federal courts with Proposition 8 and Ted Olson and David Boies and their team that are involved in this federal case. It should be noted that we referenced the fact it was going to be on YouTube. The Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, determined that it should not be televised on a rather interesting 5-4 vote, which is suggestive. I don't want to read the tea leaves, but it was an interesting vote. It's unfortunate. I wish this would be televised. There's some remarkable testimony on both sides that's occurring just down the block. But again, hats off to Ted Olson and his strange bedfellow partner, David Boies. Again, the two folks that were involved in Bush v. Gore, both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, here in San Francisco. And I have a reception here this week for them in my office, and I just want to congratulate them and their team, and Dennis Herrera and his team for all their good work they're doing down the block. Another thing that I wanted to reinforce, and again, I don't want to take up all your time on the state of the city again, is the importance of moving forward with the stimulus legislation, the final 3 items of our stimulus legislation that we introduced a year ago. I want the board, please, just calendar once and for all a payroll tax exemption for all net new jobs in the next 2 years, a tax incentive for people that are providing health care, particularly small businesses that are providing our first in the nation universal health care to their employees. And those are the businesses between 20 and 49 employees. And let's extend that biotech tax credit that has paid great dividends in San Francisco. Remember, 2 biotech companies in 2004, now 56 today. Once again, people are focusing on our history and our fate and future connected to the issue of life sciences and biotech and nanotechnology. This tax credit sent the right message to the industry. Business is coming back to their place of birth. Remember, it was Genentech in the late 70s that was conceived out of UCSF. Here in San Francisco, we need to do more and do better, and we can extend that tax credit. And I appreciate the consideration of the board. I know tax credits sometimes are difficult, but we got to continue to focus on the top priority in this city, broadly speaking, and that's jobs and economic development, a good portion of what I talked about significantly in the state of the city. And by the way, the reason I emphasize so much of that is it absolutely connects with the budget. There's a direct corollary there. We talked a lot about reform and economic development in relationship to the budget. I did not spend, though, the State of the City talking only about the budget, because we've been acting, not talking. We dealt with the mid-year cuts in the last few weeks. We're on a completely different cycle than the governor's budget that just came out. My budget doesn't have to come out for a number of months, but we're going to be taking immediate action, and notably taking that action with the support of the people of the city by doing some town halls next month. And I'll be announcing next week when and where those town halls are occurring. I may announce it the week after, but I hopefully do it next week. And we'll be spending a lot of time together talking about the budget in the next few weeks and months. Mark my word, I get the importance and the priority to do just that. There's not a day that goes by where we're not focusing on that issue in every way, shape, or form. Briefly, a couple things. I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week. We're going to be prioritizing an extension of that JobsNow program. 1,500 people now are employed in our JobsNow program. I went up to Sacramento to visit the governor's office this week to encourage them to help support this remarkable program. Over $800 million. It's a $1.7 billion package, but $800 million has not been drawn down of federal money that expires in September for 100% wage subsidies under this program. We need to keep moving on this. We also need to get it extended, and so we'll be back east to do just that. And we had a very successful meeting in the governor's office, and I tip my hat to them for looking at this program anew and committing themselves, I hope, to moving forward aggressively to support it. Just briefly, I have a couple of things that need to be said, and then one thing that must be said. The need to be said is I want to just acknowledge the 75th anniversary of our Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco. They're celebrating it this week on the 15th, Friday night, and hats off to all the good people that have made the Museum of Modern Art such a special place in the city, not least of which the Fisher family and the extraordinary contribution they're making to this city and our legacy as a cultural destination with the Fisher Collection, Don and Doris Fisher, and the expansion of MOMA, which we're working aggressively on. And finally, and back to the must be said, and soberly, is the tragedy in Haiti, which has impacted all of us for obvious reasons as human beings, but probably in some ways more of us here in San Francisco because of our history and the fate and our future being so tied to Mother Nature and her fury and our history in '06 and of course the interim earthquakes in '89 notably, and the expectation that we're by no means out of the woods and that any moment we can have a quake of even greater magnitude out here in San Francisco. I want to remind people of a couple things. One is the immediacy of need for money. And this is rare. You usually say, well, we need support and personnel and logistics. They need money in Haiti. And there are a lot of organizations from the Red Cross. If you haven't donated even $5 or $10, please go to the Red Cross website and do that. I've been supporting and promoting the Clinton Foundation and the great work they're doing. You can text, in fact, if you go on your handheld or you go on computer, you can text Haiti 20222. 20222, and that will make a $10 contribution to the relief efforts there. I encourage you to do that, or to any local charity that will ultimately get those dollars immediately into the hands of those that need it in Haiti. But it's also a reminder of the uncertainty out here, not just in reflective terms, but prospectively, and the importance to be prepared. Please, if you haven't done this, I mean this, go to 72hours.org, 72hours.org. You will never regret taking a moment to do this, and tell your friends and family to do the same. And let's make sure we're prepared out here, and let's make sure that we don't forget that this recovery effort in Haiti is going to take years and years and years, and let's be there for folks, not just today and tomorrow in the midst of this crisis, but in the medium and long term. And this city is going to make sure that we invest that time and energy in the long run. And I'll be talking a lot more about how San Francisco is going to get involved in the recovery efforts and the rebuilding efforts in Haiti. So a sobering end to an otherwise, I think, very positive week. Thank you all for your indulgence, those of you that stood by us at the State of the City. We'll be talking again in the next few weeks about not just the trip back from DC and hopefully some good progress on the JobsNow program, but also a lot more about the budget coming up. Have a great week, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Okay, quick postscript. I got you. It's not truancy abatement, it's truancy assessment. My apologies to everyone that's worked so hard on the TARC program. Have a great week, everybody.